Hello and welcome to Minukuu tutorials. In today's tutorial, we're going to look at a simpler method of importing data into R using the read.csv2 command. The read.csv2 command is not that much known in the Anglophone countries simply because we use the classical CSV command, that is read.csv. Because read.csv2 is actually used in Francophone countries. Why? Because in Francophone countries, let me just show you an example. Looking at this data set, if we want to import this data set, we will have to convert it into either CSV or tab delimited file format before we can import it into R. So let's open this data set for you to see. This is actually a French data set. Let me put it that way. The variables, all the variables are in French and everything is in French. So I want to show you the French data format and why CSV2 is used instead of CSV, classical CSV or simple CSV. And then I would show you like the importance or the advantages of using read.csv2 is much more simpler than any other method in my opinion. And it doesn't matter, it can read any kind of data in a very simpler method. So let me, without wasting my time, I'll try to make this bold and enlarge the font size a little bit so that it will be more visible. All right, so here's our data set. And as you can see, this is, never mind, this is actually in French, so never mind about, let's say, how maybe the purpose of this tutorial is not to analyze the data, so never mind about the variables, what is written. But one peculiar thing that I want you to know or notice about the French system is that in French, when we want to write, for instance, very good example is the weight, this height, this in French is called taille. So if you want to write a height of 1.63 meters, in French is written as 1,63. So in French, whenever we want to write point, we replace it by comma. So because of this, they had to devise a means of importing data because since R, let's say, is the R program is run in English. It's an American software. We are all aware of that. So it cannot read, let's say, numbers with commas as is written here. It's not possible. So but in the French system, anytime we have to write point, we write comma. So they had to improvise a new method of importing data, let's say quantitative data with points, using this command that is called CSV2, read.csv2. So because it's mostly used in the Francophone sector, it's not very known in the Anglophone sector. However, this command is very, very useful and it's very simple to use. It doesn't matter, it can read both quantitative data with, let's say, in the French system where as is written in comma, if it were in the Anglophone system where it will be point, like 1.63, 1.72, read.csv2 can read either of them without any problem. And then one interesting thing is that writing the command is very, very simple. So I'm going to show you how it's done. First of all, as usual, to import this data in the form of into R, we have to save it in the form of CSV or tab delimited form, or maybe separated by space or whatever format we want. So for the meantime, let's save it into a CSV file. So we click on File, then we click on Save As. You can save it on the desktop, in a form of CSV format. Okay, so let me get down comma separated value. That's the meaning of CSV. So I've selected CSV and I'll name this tutorial, for example, tutorial, today's tutorial. That's okay. So let's put it on the desktop. Yes, and it has been saved. So this is our CSV file. And as you can see, if you want to know that why we always call it a CSV or a comma separated file, it's simply because this is a text file that is delimited by comma, you know. So if I should open this in using maybe a block note, you would realize that, you know, the values are separated by comma or semicolon if you want it that way in the French system, it's comma. So as you can see, if you want to import this data using read.csv2, it's very simple. We simply right click on our CSV file, then we click on properties, we click on security, and then we copy the file extension, copy it and come to R or R Studio, it's the same thing. Then we write, we can name our data set. Let's call it data set, for example, read.csv2 to brackets, we put it in quotation marks. We're gonna paste our file extension here, and then we have the choice, either we put 2 like this, or we like 2 backslash like this, or we erase the backslash and put for it normal slash like this, like this, like this, and it's done. By default, all the other parameters like whatsoever, header, footer, you don't need to do that. And then if you would like to know more about read.csv2, you simply write help into bracket read.csv2, or you can put question mark and write read.csv2 to know much about it. What happens is that read.csv2 imports the data set in a form of a data frame. So although we are using the CSV command, the data will be imported as if we had used read.table, or if we had imported a text file delimited by tabs, like a tab delimited file. You know, that's the advantage. So you'll be using CSV2 or CSV, however, the text will be imported in the form of a data frame, and it's very nice. Let me just execute this and so that you have more information about read.csv2. Here's a description. Reads a file in data format and creates data frame from it with cases corresponding to lines and variables to fields in the file. So it's very simple. By default, we need to put file, header, and then the separation, what have you. But all that we just need is this. By default, it will be imported in the form of a data frame. So let's execute this. And after that, to view our data set, we can just write print data set. If I should execute this, and this is our data set. It has actually been imported. As you can see, let me enlarge it a little bit. You know, it has been imported with so much ease. So let me minimize this. And as you can see, if you want to maybe put it in a tabular form to see let's say as if, so we can just write fix to do that into brackets data set, so that it will appear in the tabular form. As you can see, this is our data set that has been imported using the command read.csv2 in a much more simpler manner. So as I was saying, this is actually this was actually designed for the francophone sector because of this problem. For instance, if you are to import data set that contains, like, you cannot, okay, let me just show you a very good example. Let's assume we try to import data using classical read.csv command. So let's say, for instance, data set 2, data set, or we can say data set 1 is equal to read.csv, classical CSV, into brackets. We put our quotation marks and then we put the file extension. Let me just copy it so that we wouldn't waste that much time. Okay. Right, so if I should paste it here, then this one, by default, you don't have to put anything. As long as you put a file extension, it's just okay. Sorry, but here you may have to put a header, like indicate that header is equal to true, and after which you may have to say, talk about the separation. It's a CSV file, that is, the values are separated by comma, so we have to say separation is equal to comma in quotation marks. Okay, that's all right. Now if I should execute this, you see that it has given me an error. This is what actually happens in the francophone sector. Why? Simply because this data set contains, this is not acceptable. If we have quantitative or numeric variables, continuous numeric variables, that, you know, we will have to convert them to, we will have to replace, like, this doesn't actually exist in the anglophone sector, but I'm trying to explain why, just to give you a brief history on this command, why it's not that much known. Meanwhile, it can do a lot of magic. It's much more simpler than the rest of the other methods, in my opinion. So because this, like in the French system, we have these comments. Whenever we want to write point, we write comma. That has accounted for our inability to import data sets like of this nature using the usual read.csv command. So that's why read.csv2 was designed. You see, read.csv2 can easily import it without any problem. So for instance, if you want to import this data as in the English or the Anglophone sector, we'll have to replace these comments in our data set by dots. So to do that, we simply click here and then we click on replace. So we will replace dots by comma. Sorry, we will replace all the comma by dots. Never mind, in the francophone, in the English or the Anglophone sector, you don't really have data sets of this nature. We don't really usually write points with comma. It doesn't exist. But for, just to explain, I'm just trying to explain the history behind this. But at the end of the day, I will try to import, after we've converted this and we've imported it with the classical CSV command, we will try to re-import this using the read.csv command, read.csv2 command, and you would see that it works with this kind of, let's say, let me finish. So as you can see, it has already replaced the values. It is not replaced simply because they are whole numbers. It's just, this should have been 0.00 by the francophone sector because it was put comma. That's why, if you want, we can get rid of. That's okay. So now we will try to save this data set This is the in the English or the Anglophone sector, the data is supposed to be like this. We don't have, see that we have replaced the commas by dots. This is normal in the English sector or the Anglophone sector. Let me save this on a desktop, and I would name it maybe tutorial 2 or tutorial 1, for example. And then we're actually gonna save it in the form of still a CSV file. It's still a CSV file, but okay. So now here it is on the desktop. This is a CSV. This is the second one, the English or the Anglophone file, where we have replaced the commas, all the numeric variables or values that we're having comma as in the French sector, we've replaced it, or the Francophone sector, we've replaced it by dot. So this is a normal English data set. Now, if we should copy the file extension, there's no need, we can just go and write, it's the same thing, we can just go and write 1, just attach 1, it's okay. So if I should come here, I just need to put 1 here since I've named it. Yeah. So as soon as I do that, it's supposed to work. Why? Simply because I've now changed, I've now corrected it. This is now a normal English or Anglophone data set. So if I should import this, why is it still giving me an error? Tutorial 1 separation is equal to, oh sorry, I didn't, yeah, I think I completed it. Read.csv. All right, if not, maybe I might have made a mistake or something. Look at it again. Read.csv. This is the file extension. Header is equal to true. Separation is equal to comma. Why isn't it not working? Okay, let me go to the desktop. See, click on properties, and we click on security, and we copy this. Get back to our R, and then it's the same thing. I don't really see the need, but for the benefit of the doubt, let me put it there. Then we change this to this, this read.csv into brackets, this, that, okay. Header is equal to true, separation is equal to comma. Let me select it and execute and see what it will say again. You see that it has now worked. You know, it hasn't given us any error. It has actually worked. Now let's print our data set 1 and see what it will give us. If I should execute this, see that it has been able to import the file in a CSV format. It depends on you. I personally, I don't really like working with CSV format files because it's hard to read. You understand? And it would have been better importing this data set with, you know, we had to put header, separation, and what have you, yet it imports the data in the form of a CSV. It's not very admirable in my opinion. But if we had used read.csv2, it would have been much more simpler, and the data would have been imported in the form of a data frame or a tabs delimited file, even though we have used CSV. You understand? So if you want to verify that, we can simply for instance, let's put 1 here so that we can import this, and you see. So if I should put 1, I'm simply trying to import the normal English data set using CSV2, and it's gonna work without any hesitation. So you see, it is the same file extension. So if I should execute this, as you can see, it has worked if I should print it, print the data set, sorry, as you can see, it has been well imported. You see it. So this is the advantage of CSV2 compared to the rest. It's much more simpler and easier to use. You just need only the file extension and boom, it's done. If you would like to look at the other method, maybe read.csv2, read.table, I could show you. So we could say maybe dataset 2, let's call it dataset 2 to be equal to read.table to brackets, put a file extension here. But this time around, I'm not supposed, since we are using read.table, we'll have to save our data into a text file, a tab delimited file, no more a CSV file. So to do this, you simply click on File, then I will save it on the desktop. Then we will save it in the form of a tab delimited file. So we select tab delimited, here it is. Then I'll name this maybe CSV2. Sorry, let's just leave it. There's nothing wrong because a tab file is different from a CSV file. So if we are done, let's put it on the desktop. Yes. And if I should go to the desktop, here's our tab delimited file. And as you can see, it's different from this normal CSV file. If you would like to compare, let's open the two. This is this was the original French CSV file. This is after replacing the commas by dots or points, as in the English or Anglophone sector. And this is now our tab file. So let's now to compare a CSV file to a tab delimited file, we can just open it with a block note. Let's open this one too with a block note. And as you can see, they are very different. They're so much different in everything. This is a comma separated file, and this is a tab delimited file. You see it. So you would realize that when we used CSV2, we are able to import the data in the form of a tab delimited file, which appears nicer than using the CSV file. Nevertheless, we could have also written, let's say we could have, if we had wanted to import maybe the file using CSV, classical CSV, then we would have had to save the file in the form of a tab delimited format before we can, or in tab delimited format before we can use CSV, classical CSV or read.table to import. But for the meantime, let's use read.table to import the tab delimited file. So this is our tab delimited file. Right click, click on properties, click on security, then we copy the file extension. We come back to R and come and paste it here and change this, that's okay. Header is equal to true. Then we add a separation. This is no longer a CSV file, so the separation, this is a tab file, so the separation will be equal to \t. So if I should execute this, see that it has worked. Let's print our dataset 2, and it's done. So you see it has been imported just like using CSV. Using CSV2, you see it. So instead of maybe this cumbersome, we could have just saved it into CSV format, and we use CSV2, and it would have been much more easier. But it depends on you. It's just a matter of choice. So if I should, for instance, data set is the same thing as this CSV2, and then using read.table is the same thing. See that data has also been imported in the form. You see it. Last but not the least, we could also use CSV format by simply replacing the separation and then the file extension, or by simply we could import a tab file using a CSV command, or using the CSV command is also possible, but it's preferable using CSV for read.csv, and then tab for CSV2 or read.table. It actually depends on you. So if I want, I'm just trying to show you that we can also import a tab file if you want to have the data, because if you remember, if I should show you again, if I should show you CSV1, sorry, if I should show you when we imported the data initially using classical CSV, what happened? The data came in the form of this. It's a CSV file. Now if we want to import, we can use classical CSV, but we will have to save the file in the form of a tab delimited file before we can now import it using either read.table or read.csv. So if you want, we can just copy the file extension here, the text tab file, which is here, and paste it here, and also change this. Let's copy this and replace it with this. Now we can execute this. I should run this, and it's done. Let's print our data set now. It has also been imported in the same way. So just as I said, we can import data using what? It depends on how you want to manipulate. It depends. It's up to you to choose what is more convenient for you. So this is how it's done. In my opinion, read.csv2 is much more simpler. All you need is to save the file in CSV format. You just copy the file extension and put it here, and you are done. I hope this video is helpful, or you found this video helpful. Please subscribe and share with your friends who may have problems importing data into R, and please like if you really like the video, and also leave some comments. I would like to know your views about the presentation and about this tutorial. Let me know how easy is it. Let me know whether you really, how easy is it for you to import data into R? Do you have any challenges, so that we could address them, and I could even make a video to explain it for you. Thank you so much, and once again, please remember to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye.